Greetings, everyone. Dale Parrish, host COS today, along with my co-host, Mr. Ken Kashuba, our Indiana State Communications Coordinator. Hi, Ken. How you doing?
Hi, Dale. Doing okay, thanks.
Good, good. Geez, I haven't seen you in probably 2 minutes. So, well, hope everyone's doing okay. Hope everyone's recovered from the Super Bowl. Kind of a Not much of a game, I didn't think, unless you're an Eagles fan, I guess.
I was kind of rooting for him.
Were you the Eagles? Were you?
Yeah, I was kind of an underdog person. I just felt
Okay.
that I felt that the Kansas City Chiefs weren't what they were the previous 2 years, and
Well, they sure didn't. They sure proved it. They sure didn't show up last night. I'll have to say that.
I think it was the Eagles that showed up more. That's all.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, listen, let's get right to it tonight. Folks who apologize a little bit ahead of time here. We've got a program that's going to run a bit over what we normally try to keep at, which is 60 minutes. So we're going to probably go a bit beyond that tonight. But we've got some really good stuff for you. As you know, we've been focusing on the J6ers and that the J6 defendants and what's been going on with them. And I want to bring up this is the first J6 prisoner that we interviewed some months ago. I should have looked it up, Ken. I think maybe it was October or so. Do you remember?
I think it was October, early October, I believe. Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, somewhere around there. This is Jeremy Brown. Now, Jeremy Brown, of course, has been in prison. As a matter of fact, our interview with him was from his prison cell. He was in prison at that time in Florida. And Jeremy's case has been on national news. As a matter of fact, Ken, I saw a report on him on Newsmax just a few days ago. They had one of his attorneys on to talk about his case. Jeremy was, of course, charged according to January 6th, and of course, President Trump's pardon cleared him of the January 6th charges, but he had also been assessed some other charges beyond January 6th, and so he has not been released. He is still in prison. And what I have for us tonight is I managed to get an interview with one of his attorneys that was very gracious to give us his time and explain what is happening with Jeremy. Jeremy has gone from prison in Florida, gone to a prison in Kentucky. Then they transferred. Oh, he went to D.C., I should say. Then they transferred him to Kentucky, and now they've transferred him to a prison in Atlanta. So I don't know what that's all about, but I tell you, Jeremy is having a rough time here, a really, really rough time. If you can imagine seeing everybody getting released, but not him. So very, very heartbreaking. So anyway, I want to bring on, this is another Wendy Olson Pillars of Freedom segment for us. We have two of those tonight, and the first one has to do with Jeremy Brown. So I want to bring on Jeremy's attorney, Chris Hedges, and listen to the interview that I did with him over this past weekend. All right?
Sounds good.
Here we go. Greetings, everyone. Dale Parrish, host COS today. As I told you ahead of time, we've got a special guest on this evening, Mr. Chris Hedges. Chris is the attorney, as I mentioned, for Jeremy Brown, and I'm going to get right to it with Chris here, so let's bring him on. Hi, Chris.
Hey Dale, how you doing? Thanks for
Good,
having
good.
me with Constitutional States today.
Yeah, good, great. Thank you for coming on. I've kind of prepped our viewers ahead of time here about Jeremy. As I mentioned to you, Jeremy was the first prisoner, J6 prisoner that I interviewed some months ago, and so I want you to bring us up to date on the situation with Jeremy, and let's just jump right into it, and let's. As for the sake of the viewers, Chris has given me a pretty nice outline as to how we're gonna proceed through this. So let's just start with the first topic. Why Jeremy, Chris?
So we're gonna have to start by going to the very beginning. Jeremy was the federal government attempted to recruit Jeremy to be a confidential human source in December of 2020. They went to his house, and then after a series of emails with a couple of DHS agents, a face-to-face meeting was taking place where Jeremy recorded the audio of that meeting with the consent of the agents. Jeremy held on to that audio for several months. He went up to January 6th as part of the Oath Keepers volunteer security detail for people that were going to permitted events, etc. While he was there, the two agents that attempted to recruit him actually contacted him via phone, and you can actually see this in his arrest warrant or his search warrant. I can't remember which the representation.
So he was there for security purposes, right?
Correct.
I remember right.
He was there for a professional capacity for a permitted event.
Okay.
So after he had that contact with the DHS agents on January 6th and 7th, he really didn't do much, but he did see a bunch of people that he was in DC with being arrested. On March 5th, 2021, Jeremy went public with that audio, providing expert analysis because he was concerned that there was misrepresentations being made by Christopher Wray as to confidential human sources when he was speaking to Congress. When you look at the history of Jeremy's investigation, you see that after that specific interview, the amount of time and energy invested into an investigation in Jeremy continues. You fast forward, and Darren Beatty with Revolver writes an article which puts Jeremy back in the spotlight because it goes back to this audio recording that he had provided. And then eventually on September 29th, and a member of the FBI requested a search warrant and arrest warrant from two different judges in DC, and they were executed the next day. Jeremy was picked up. And Jeremy has been held in prison since September 30th, 2021, and he's currently there now. He was convicted in a Tampa case based on this search warrant, and he was pardoned by Donald Trump as a result of the pardon on January 20th, 2025. But he's currently sitting in FCI Atlanta, which is a federal prison in Atlanta, Georgia, which is about the farthest prison they can keep him in from home to serve out his sentence. That's where he currently stands. And basically, Jeremy is in prison because he had the audacity of being a whistleblower who came forward presenting the receipts as to what he was talking about.
So he's technically really a whistleblower. They wanted him to be an informant for the FBI, and he blew the whistle on him. He made his contact public, right?
That is correct.
And now Jeremy lived in Florida at the time, right?
Yes.
Search warrant and everything.
Yeah. So Jeremy lived in Florida with his girlfriend Tylene. They've been there for ever, I guess. All of the property, everything that the federal government wanted to search was in Florida. And the only way that they were able to actually acquire that search warrant from the judge that they got it from was from a provision of the federal law that was developed as a result of the Patriot Act, which basically said that judge can issue an out of jurisdiction search warrant if there is an ongoing domestic domestic terrorism investigation.
Okay, so we got a DC judge, am I right?
Correct.
Dealing with a resident of Florida. Okay. All right. Let's go. The next point that you wanted to cover. Why a January 6th case?
So a lot of people, I think, are getting stuck up on the fact that this happened in Tampa, and because it happened in Tampa, it has to be something other than January 6th. And because of the venue of where it happened, I think, it's reasonable that people might sit there and come to that conclusion. But here's the thing. The search warrant was acquired by the same special agent of the FBI who got the arrest warrant for Jeremy for January 6th. The search warrant was gotten on the exact same day within hours of the search warrant itself, the arrest warrant itself.
So Chris, now we've got an arrest warrant and we've got a search warrant going on here, right? Okay.
So we had an arrest warrant because, like every January 6er, he committed some offense supposedly. And the two offenses he was accused of committing on January 6th were two of the quote unquote trespassing charges, being within a United States Secret Service restricted area in violation of 18 USC 1752. Jeremy never passed any signs that said this is a restricted area. He never went into the Capitol. He never engaged in any violence with a law enforcement officer. He assisted a citizen who was in duress, during that time frame, which is on Capitol building TV security cams. He can be seen leaving the Capitol with the rest of the Oath Keepers around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, so that they're out of the streets and out of DC before Muriel Bowser's 6 p.m. Curfew kicks in. Yeah. So, even in their actions while they were there within the day, they were still trying to act within the law, I guess. Despite the fact that there was a curfew that should not have been in place, in my opinion.
Okay.
So the arrest warrant opens the door for the possibility of the search warrant because they're looking for evidence of what transpired on January 6th. And like I said, that search warrant was only able to be issued by that DC judge as a result of Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure, Rule 41, I think it's B3, which basically says you have to have a domestic terrorism investigation or a terrorism investigation to issue this out of jurisdiction search warrant. That warrant was basically relying on one key statement, which was a statement from someone who said that someone else told him something, and as a result, there was justification for that search. Interesting thing is the FBI's got a department organization, I don't know what it'd be considered, called the National Threat Operations Center. And on January 13th, 2021, the National Operation Threat Center basically cleared Jeremy of any threats to national security. So if you're asking me, the National Threat Operations Center cleared Jeremy of any potential or arguable domestic terrorism investigation prior to. But all of these facts and circumstances in this search warrant case are a direct result of January 6th. The evidence that they were looking for, was evidence of Jeremy being in DC on January, 6, 2021. The charges are a result of what was found that day, and there's some issues there. But before we got to it, I'd like to actually talk about the constitutionality of the search warrant.
Okay, all right. I just want to remind our viewers now we're talking about Jeremy, a retired Green Beret, Special Forces. Am I right?
Special Forces.
I mean, this guy. Well, I'm going to show our viewers I showed our viewers the picture of him before we started this. Before I brought you on, and I mean, this is a well-decorated young man that was by all means a true patriot. So. I just thought I'd throw that into for everyone to be aware of. Okay. So let's get into the constitutionality here.
So I've already told you that it's questionable why that DC judge was allowed to even issue the warrant in Florida. It was based on the hearsay statement delivered by a cooperating witness. There was the actual NTOC case that cleared Jeremy of any quote unquote issues of national security threat, which to me begs the question, well, if there's no national security threat as of January 13th, where did you come up with the idea to justify a domestic terrorism investigation? But then the real issue comes down to the face of the warrant. So there's a case that the Supreme Court has come through and held called Grove v. Ramirez. And in that opinion, basically, the face of the warrant has to have everything on it appropriate that a warrant must have. It can't be relying on outside documentation. It has to be on that warrant. And the specifics of that come down to the things that we're supposed to be searched for. So when you go into a search warrant, you have to list with particularity what you're going to look for and take. And the courts have decided and interpreted that you can incorporate that by reference of other documents. So, for example, it could say, see attachment B, like in Jeremy Brown's case. However, the problem that took place in Jeremy's case was when they said see attachment B, that referred only to a place that was to be searched. It didn't actually list the things that they were supposed to be looking for. It didn't list for any clothes, any technical equipment, anything that he might have had that day, any firearms, et cetera, et cetera. And when you look at what Grove v. Ramirez says about a search warrant like that, it says basically that because it does not have the things to be searched for and seized listed with particularity on the face of the warrant itself is unconstitutional and facially deficient. So at that point in time, what we're talking about is that the search itself never should have taken place, and everything that was found should have been the result of should have been treated as fruit of the poisonous tree and suppressed. That didn't happen, unfortunately. But there's still other problems with that search warrant. So when you look at the search warrant itself, there's the face of the warrant, which is basically everything that's supposed to be on there. And when you look at it, this specific special agent sat there and wrote out that here are these 5 crimes that Jeremy is alleged to have committed. And it's, 1752, 1A and 1752-2, I believe. And then, a violation of, conspiracy. I think that's 231. And, it goes through and it lists about 5 different charges.
Right.
Here's the thing, though. If you go to the end of that search warrant and you look at the conclusion of the probable cause affidavit that agent swore to as being the truth, I've got a big question there. And it's because when I write a conclusion, I write all of my points in my conclusion in one conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And in that concluding paragraph, while the face of the warrant said there's probable cause for explosives, the conclusion didn't. And my question would be well, if you're telling the judge at the face of the warrant that, there's probable cause for explosives, then why aren't you concluding that in your conclusion when you've had over 267 days to review, prepare, and request this specific search warrant? And why'd you go to a second judge instead of asking the same judge for the arrest warrant and the search warrant? Now, there's another thing too, is if this document is public record, anyone can go to the docket and pull up Jeremy's case and download this document. That document's 57 pages long, I believe, between the various faces of the warrant and the probable cause affidavit.
Uh-huh.
And on it, there are timestamps. There are timestamps when the judge supposedly received the application, is what I believe the first timestamp is. And there's a timestamp at the very end where the judge has signed off. Between timestamp 1 and timestamp 3, it is a total of, if my math is correct, 92 seconds. The judge reviewed a 57-page document in 92 seconds.
That's you got to be pretty fast to do that. My goodness.
Which which then begs the question: did he see all of what I had previously spoke about? So
Yeah.
that's the constitutionality of the warrant, and everything should have been gone. Now, some people might think that's just, hey, one of those lawyer tricks to get somebody out. Let's talk about the evidence.
Okay. All right. Let's go to evidence. And we got about 5 minutes left here.
So there's a lot of different parts of evidence that we can talk about. I'm going to focus on one thing. It's the one thing that seems to be a sticking point for everyone.
Yeah.
2 M67 grenades found on Jeremy's property. Now, here's the thing. Jeremy Brown is a 20-year Special Operations combat veteran, 17 years of which was spent with the Green Berets. Jeremy Brown has run counterintelligence type of operations. He has sat there and recruited assets. Everything that the DHS agents did to him, he has done downrange, where the results of messing up are significantly worse than they are here.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy knew that he was recruited. Jeremy knew that everyone he was with was being arrested. Jeremy knew he was contacted by DHS while he was in DC. He knew that he had published their various communications with him. And on the day he was arrested at 9:36 in the morning, he got a phone call that left a voicemail that said, "Hey, Jeremy, this is Agent such and such." And Agent such and such was the one who tried to recruit him. I'm going to be out of the office for a day, but I see your list. I see you're moving, just kind of checking in. Give me a call at my cell phone at blah, blah, or at my desk at blah, blah. And I'll like to get back with you. At about 9:42, Jeremy forwarded that voicemail to at least one other person, if not more. And when that happened, he basically said, "It looks like my friends are interested in where I'm going," which to me is an inference that, hey, I know that they're coming for me. I'm just letting you guys know. That was at 9:42 in the morning. Timestamps from the surveillance equipment at his house show that the FBI showed up at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 3:30ish. Basically, Jeremy had 5.5 hours to make anything that he didn't want them to find go away. Yet they found grenades in plain view, classified material in plain view, and a bunch of other things. Now, just as a simple thought experiment, does anyone honestly believe that Jeremy, with his experience, knowing what he knew, knowing what was going to happen, would have left those there in plain view?
Yeah. So Jeremy really, he really thinks these were plants. He thinks these were all plants, right? Yeah.
I think the forensic evidence doesn't say thinks. I think the forensic evidence says are.
Yeah.
So these 2 M67 grenades, they had tape on them, and they were taped in such a way, and this is a detail that would be pertinent maybe to men and women in the military who understand it, but for me as a civilian, not important. What is important is this. On those grenades, they found the DNA of 2 different males. They found dog hairs. They found carpet fibers. But here's the thing. The dog hairs did not match his dogs. The carpet fibers didn't match his house or the RV where they were found. The 2 males did not sit there and match Jeremy. And that's despite the fact that there is a memo from the FBI that says, hey, do you mind if we sit there and lower the threshold for the forensics on the grenades from wherever it's supposed to be to 95%? So even lowering the forensic threshold, they couldn't sit there and meet the burden of matching it.
See. Okay.
There is nothing that ties those to Jeremy Brown other than the fact that they're there. And you got to wonder, how is it that they could be in his possession for over 9 years, which is the minimum of what they would have had to be from when he retired till the present, without collecting a piece of forensic data that would suggest that they were his.
So somebody's not looking at this evidence. Somebody's not paying any attention to it, or they're ignoring it, right?
I think we're in an awkward state where we've got a new administration that's coming in and putting its feet down, and it's trying to get everything going. I would hope that as soon as the Attorney General hears about this, that a very deep investigation into Jeremy's case takes place and Jeremy's released, because not only is it a J6 case that ties into the president's executive order, it was an unconstitutional search warrant to begin with. And we're talking about the realistic nature of planted evidence on a defendant, who happened to be a whistleblower. I don't think that there's any way conceivable that the Attorney General can't dig into this.
Okay. All right, Chris. Well, we got to wrap it up here. I want to thank you for coming on and giving us this update. I want to follow Jeremy's case very closely. And can I ask you to come back on as updates occur?
I'd be happy to come on as updates occur, but God willing, maybe Jeremy could sit there and do them himself.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. That would be wonderful. Well, Chris, once again, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Dale, and thank you to everyone at the Constitution Estates.
Thank you.
Wow, Dale.
Did you know he kept referring to us as Constitution of States?
Yeah.
Like I didn't have the heart to correct him there, but anyway.
Yeah. That's the gist of what it is was there, and I just, like I say, at this point, boy, I know at this point, I feel based on what he said that as we get into this administration a little further, it'll be brought to light. I mean, at this point, I just, it's something. It's like one of those novels you read, and it's just it's so wrong that the justice system that we've had up to this point.
Ken, in my interview with Jeremy, of course, it was a tough interview. It was over the phone, a prison system communications, and we had to stop and start. But Jeremy tried to explain some of this to me, and quite honestly, it didn't sink in. But I thought Chris, he put it all very much into perspective. Still, I guess a little hard for us novice, non-legal people to understand, but I thought he did a very good job on explaining it.
Yeah, I think just the explanation at the end about the grenades and certainly all the evidence that would normally be looked at in any case, you had to look at that and said, somebody's just totally ignoring this, or just trying to put it out of place. It's just
how could you ignore that?
I mean, what was the Colombo thing? Just the facts, ma'am, just the facts.
All right. Well, like he said, hopefully we'll have Jeremy on live here someday very soon.
That would be nice.
But otherwise, we'll bring him back if there's any kind of a update. Kim, before I got another we've got another Dave's Daily Dose to listen to again on January 6th. But before we get to that, how about telling us a little bit about this QR code up in the corner up there?
Yeah, I tell you what, if you've enjoyed our programming so far, and there's a lot more to come, or even if you're a new viewer or somebody who's just recently tuned in, that QR code up there in the corner is really there to allow people to take their smartphone out and become supporters. Supporter, subscriber. We're not really asking you, you're not going to get emails from us asking you for donations. Basically what it is, it's a platform that offers a lot of our contributors' video segments on them, along with a lot of a wide variety of different free material that is allowed to on a platform. And it also would put you in touch with other people, kind of like a Facebook type platform where you can convey with other people that are supporters. And so we really like you to support us and subscribe. And using your smartphone, you'll be able to get all that information right there. Just a name and an email address is all that's required.
All right. Good deal. Thanks, Kim. Thanks. Well, one of our new contributors, David Punt out of Minnesota, he wanted to chime in with a few of his thoughts on the January 6th incident. And so we've got another segment here, another dose of Dave's Daily Dose. So let's play that.
At the moment, we're looking at one of two possibilities, two possible scenarios, two possible conspiracy theories, one of two tellings of history. Either a greedy, nasty, manipulative incumbent president convinced his loyal followers that his re-election had been stolen. The followers, encouraged by the losing president, then surrounded the government, attacked the Capitol, tried to overturn the election through established Electoral College safety procedures, and tried to make sure he won the election after all. But they failed. Or a group of powerful people, some elected, some just big and powerful, made it look like the president's followers tried to overthrow the government, look like they invaded the Capitol, and only through last-minute heroic efforts by a small group of true patriots made it look like they saved the day, kept the nation safe, arrested the protesters, threw the book at them, locked them up, and threw away the key. This is Dave's Daily Dose on Broken Road Radio. I'm David Allen Punt. One side insisted that there was a traitorous insurrection and a near overthrow of the United States government, and the perpetrators, including the former president himself, had to be rounded up and sent to the hoosegow. The quicker the better. The other side said the supposed insurrection was staged, set up, assisted by folks on the inside, and the unarmed protesters were convinced to look like an unruly mob who were actually ushered into the building, allowed to wander around, take pictures until they were rounded up and arrested, then charged with breaking laws designed for other infractions. The loony lefty mainstream Democrat media was in charge of making sure the public at large only saw one side of the conflict and were told the insurrection was real, that we as a nation dodged a bullet, almost were overthrown. Just by pure luck did the unarmed protesters fold like a cheap suit, and did the plucky local gendarmes slap the cuffs on them and save the day. Whew! But over the course of the last 4 years, folks started looking at the video footage shot during that day and noticed that a bunch of protesters walked into the building calmly, slowly, singing and chanting and taking each other's pictures more than leveling the building. And some of the footage suggested that someone had carried pipe bombs to put near office buildings near the Capitol, but the cameras had stopped filming just as the bombs were being placed. Other videos seemed to have been staged, faked, and the congressional committee that prosecuted the crime was dominated by one political party. And after they completed their activity, much of the evidence had been supposedly deleted, and some of the evidence appeared to have been faked, manufactured. Witnesses seem to have been tampered with. We're about to find out what really happened. Maybe. Stay tuned. The story isn't over yet. I'm David Allen Punt.
Gonna unmute myself there. Yeah, David's got some good thoughts. I think it's very true. The story's not over yet. The story's not over yet.
Perfect intermission spot there from David. Yeah, excellent.
Actually, this is a very good lead-in to the next interview that I've got here. Folks, I know you've heard me talk about this couple out of Texas, Mark and Jaleese Middleton. They head up the Patriot American Relief Fund, and dedicated to helping J6ers out and their families. And of course, both of them are J6ers, and both of them got sentenced, and both of them were sent to prison on December 17th, and stayed there until Trump issued the pardons on January 20th. We've brought you updates on them all along the way here, the best we could. So what I wanted to do here is I wanted to catch up with them and see what they're up to now. And I think what you're going to find out is this January 6th story is just going we're going to a different chapter, and I think what you're going to find out, what you're going to hear from them is there are a tremendous amount of needs that these people have gone through and lost and need. I mean everything, and you'll hear them talk about this. And this is what they're dedicating themselves to now, is to help the J6, not only the J6 defendants, but their families and all their needs. So I think you're going to find this very heartwarming. But once again, I think we're entering another phase of this whole January 6th incident, and I think there's going to be a lot more. Just like David Punt said, the story's not over yet. So, all right, here we go. Another Pillars of Freedom episode from Wendy Olson. Greetings, everyone. This is Dale Parrish with COS Today, host. And I'm bringing to you today a post-January 6th story, post-pardon story. As you know, we've been following the life and perils of Mark and Jaleese Middleton with American Patriot Relief out of Texas. And we've posted a number of updates. And if all goes well, we will review those updates with you prior to airing this recording. But so I wanted to bring you up to date, and we've been able to make contact with Mark and Jaleese now that they are pardoned and out, and get an idea of what's happening with them and their lives. And I think you're gonna see, folks, that this situation is in a lot of ways just getting started, because of the ongoing needs of these J6ers. So without further ado, let me bring on Mark and Jaleese Middleton here. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi, Dale. How are you?
Good. Well, as I told you before we started this recording, we got a sheet of ice here in Indiana. So it looks pretty nice where you are in Texas there.
About 70 degrees with a slight south breeze in Fredericksburg, Texas. So yes.
Fredericksburg, Texas. Okay. Now, where in the state is that, Mark? Where?
That is about 30 or 40 miles west of San Antonio.
Okay. All right. Well, as I mentioned, in that I hope we were able to play some of the updates, at least the last update that we did on your situation, because we have been following your situation. We posted some updates. The last one that I posted, which I really wanted to find, was where both of you were sentenced, and your sentences started December 17th, and we should have pictures of the low security facilities that you went to. So hopefully we've been able to play that for everyone to bring everyone up to date on your situation. But tell us, what was it like in prison? You went there December 17th, right?
That's correct. Correct.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll start, because for us it was very different. And I want to make sure that your listeners understand that our story is more of a unicorn story. I know, if they have been following our case, they know how abundantly blessed we have been, that the Lord has really provided for us. This was no different. He definitely came with us and never left our side. And, the difference was that we were not snatched up out of nowhere and thrown into a prison. We had time to prepare
Hundreds
everything.
of miles from home.
Right. We had time to prepare And so we weren't losing, our family or our possessions, our homes, things like that. The other thing that kind of made our situation different is that we pretty much knew, I say no, kind of, but we knew when we would come out. Donald Trump had said that he would pardon the J6ers
On day one.
on day one. So we knew there was a risk that it may not happen. We knew from the hostage situation of the January 6th defendants in the Bureau of Prisons that they could start diesel therapying and hiding us and not letting us out of prison. So there were risks. But all in all, I tell people that I felt like I went to fat camp and had to lose some weight and learn to exercise.
Is that right? Really? Okay.
Yeah, I had to learn to exercise for entertainment, and I had to learn to eat a bare minimum to stay alive because a lot of the food is not edible.
Really?
Oh, yes.
It's very, very poor, not only poor quality, but just bland and
It just the low quality, sometimes not cooking the food. I couldn't eat for 3 days because my health was too poor to actually make it to the chow hall. I had only brought a cane with me, not knowing that I would have wide open spaces to walk. I thought I would be in a cell. So what occurred was that I was in too poor health to be able to walk that 1/4 mile track to the chow hall. And so after 3 days, I got a walker and the correct shoes, could make my way there, only for them to serve fish that had not been cooked. It was raw. It was dangerously undercooked. So you took the opportunity for protein when you could get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, as far as me, I kind of, most of the struggles of the January 6th defendants in prison had already been fought. Those battles have already been waged. The January 6th community as a whole, the supporters, everything already had a good system to fight the battles for anyone who was incarcerated. So by the time Jaleesa and I went in, we went in at the very tail of it. We had 34 days.
Right.
And, we were very successful with God's promptings to fight that all the way to the bitter end. And when I went in, I likened it to a summer camp when you were kids, except you didn't have a lake or canoes and no fires and s'mores. But I was in a low facility in Beaumont, Texas, and all of the men there wanted to get along. Most of them were short timing by that point. I say within short, maybe 5-6 years of getting out, and they didn't want to fight. They didn't want to argue. They wanted no drama. Everybody got along well. If you did cause drama, usually everyone else would come against you and make life very rough for you if you were the problem child. And so it was really good. We had a few guards that were really, really hateful. Most of them were, just there to make sure we didn't accidentally kill each other or burn the place down, basically. The food was horrible. It was barely edible. I mean, it wasn't, most of the time it was not nasty, but it was repetitive. 34 days of green apples. I love green apples. I'm not so fond of them now. Some other food like that. It was every single day, 2 or 3 times a day.
Were you able to communicate with family and outside? Watch television?
I had, making phone calls every day to friends and family. I did not write anybody because it was such a short time. It's kind of a hassle to get all that set up. Me and Jaleesa did not talk over that 34 days because of all the craziness, the way they got the Bureau of Prisons is, and Christmas right there and all that. So we were unable to speak for 34 days, which was okay.
That was the first time you two had been apart, right?
That's correct.
Yes.
That's correct.
Yeah. That's the first time too. We've never been able to speak for more than 24 hours without being able to speak with one another.
Yeah.
So it was pretty rough.
That part was really hard for me. I think I was more set up in my prison. They put me in a cell with a person from DC that was a extremely dangerous person. It worked out fine. It was definitely a Lord provision thing, but I could see where they tried to stage a difficult situation for me. Um,
Really?
oh yeah, and they shut down my communications pretty early on. I was not able to make phone calls. They never would let me buy stamps out of commissary, and early on, I had computer access, but they ended up withholding those for, I believe it was 11 days before those come through, and they gave them to me the night before I was released. So I had a breakdown in communications.
Did
Uh,
you get much mail? I know I wrote both of you.
I did get your mail.
Yes, as a matter of
Um,
fact.
Did you
I
get that?
got they withheld the mail from me and then dumped it all at one time the week before I left.
Okay.
And yes,
Really?
I was getting mail all along except the last about 2 weeks. I didn't get any letters, which was kind of odd because the other 3 weeks I was getting 3 and 4 and 5 letters a day, or at least a week, not a day, but a week, and receiving books and all kinds of stuff. And people have contacted me. Did you get the book I sent you? And I was like, I did not see that one.
Okay.
There's no telling where it is. It may have gotten returned to sender. I don't know, but
or Gary Painter.
Excuse me. Okay, my
Uh,
phone went off. Okay.
but as far as my experience, though, it was a very much an educational experience. I originally thought that I was going there to as a mission field for me to reach other people and bring the gospel to them, and it turned out it was more of a mission for me to learn of all of the ills of the prison system and what the criminal justice system is doing to people, all in the name of getting quota numbers of how many cases they've adjudicated. It's horrible.
Wow.
It's sickening.
Wow. Okay. Well, the day finally came. I guess you were you able to watch Trump issue the pardons? Were you able to see that happen?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
It was so beautiful. So our entire unit sat around TVs to watch all day long, and it's so beautiful that these prisoners were in their own midst of having to pay their own consequences of whether they deserved it or not. There's a lot of politically persecuted.
Yeah.
But they sat around so eager and excited to see if me and my other January 6th defendant that was in the unit with me would be pardoned. Mark had like 5 with him. And they were ecstatic, leaping and cheering for joy.
I bet they were.
And I just got to tell you, it wasn't easy to get me out of prison. They did try to hold on to me. Now, Mark was able to get out without a problem. But when they did finally come to get me to release me, one thing you don't do is leave out of your cell once you've been racked up. It will get you into the SHU, which is single housing unit. It's the hole. People know it as the hole. And all these women, irrelevant of consequences, flooded out of their cells, cheering in the upper balcony and lower balcony. One of them ran over, picked me up, and jumped for joy in a circle, holding me. It was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life.
Wow.
I had pretty much the same thing. I had guys coming up and grabbing me, hugging me, shaking my hand, saying, "I'm so proud I got to serve with an American hero." And I mean, this is
Wow.
Yes, it was pretty. We felt like rock stars. I did.
Yeah.
I felt like some sort of big hero amongst all these men, and it was really, really a surreal experience.
Well, great. Okay. Well, guys, welcome home. You're back. You're back home, and am I right? It's all in the past and it's all done, right? And nothing more to do, right?
Well, I've kind of coined the phrase that we are no longer January 6th defendants. We are January 6th offendants.
The offense. You're on offense now.
We are
Okay.
now on offense, and there's so many wrongs that need to be righted. And I think us January 6th defendants, all of us are uniquely positioned to fight these fights.
Yeah.
And, so we are very much, at least for me and Jaleese, we're taking care of some other J6ers right now, but very soon we will be full on offense. And
We've got to address prison reform. We
Yes.
now know that's a problem. We've got to go after the politically persecuted we found in prison
Yeah.
and right those wrongs. But the biggest thing that people don't understand is that the battle's just begun.
This
Everyone's
is
excited.
this is a whole new phase, isn't it?
yes,
This
Yes.
is,
yes.
We've
and it's just
turned
getting
a corner.
started, really.
That's right. We just turned a corner. That now the need is bigger and greater than it ever has been before. 250 people got released out of prison in a day. Their lives had been absolutely annihilated. That means their families are gone, their house is gone, their cars, their jobs, their driver's license, their everything. And just like a 16-year-old child, they have to start over again.
Yeah.
And how do you make something out of nothing? It's going to take the American people coming together more than they ever have before. And I have faith in the American people that they're going to come alongside us, because now the fear of being persecuted like us is gone. Now they can truly be their brother's keeper. But we're out. That's why we're here in Fredericksburg. We're out here trying to help rebuild their lives. We're building tiny homes so that in this community they'll have a home. They've got people willing to hire them, and provide emotional and spiritual healing
We've
along
got
the
several
way.
churches that have come together out here that will, serve their spiritual needs. We've got organizations that have come together to help with their emotional needs, with training, whatever they need, counseling to get them back, try to make them as whole as we can. And
Now, you guys, are you reaching out to J6ers in your immediate area, or are you?
Oh, no.
No, this is national that we're reaching out to, and they're being vetted because we only have 5 tiny homes that we're building. 2 of them are almost complete.
But we also have some other landowners that have means to take
Oh,
in.
really? Okay.
Yes, we've got I believe we've got 3 or 4 other locations that they're established, but it's just got to work in a certain manner. So we're not disclosing their locations yet, because
Right.
we've got to work that in a very strategic way. We've opened up our land up in North Texas with mobile homes. So we've got things in the works, but right here is going to be really the most complete hub, because the community has come alongside to make provisions for these J6ers to get up on their feet. It is short term. It's not somewhere they're going to live the next 20 years or even year. We're
Oh, it's
talking
not.
about
Okay.
3 months to launch them in a job, build enough money to then move to where they need to move with a vehicle.
Okay.
And one of the beautiful things, we've had 3 cars donated. When me and Jaleese came up last week, I guess about this time, I trailered a car up here that we had just picked up the night before from a woman up in Dallas. And
So we need car donations.
Yes.
We need licensed counselors willing to donate time. We're doing it by telehealth or by phone call. So anywhere in the nation. The J6ers have already heard about us. They're coming from far and wide. We have met probably 15 of our brothers and sisters just in this week.
And a lot of them, because most of us J6ers have been cooped up at home, we're all kind of like a dog that someone left the gate open. We're running down the street as fast as we can. So there are J6ers that are road tripping the country right now, a bunch of them. And so a lot of those are swinging by here to spend a few days and to help on these tiny homes, and then they move on, and which is absolutely outstanding. There's I think 6 of them here right now, not including Jaleesa and I. And
Well, tell us about the individual that has donated this land to you, and it's called the J6 Freedom Ambassador.
no,
right?
this
Yeah.
is the J6 Road Home.
Road
Yeah,
Home.
J6
Road.
Road Home is who has provided the land. Um,
Okay.
And that's what's beautiful is that is Jenny Cudd McCombs. She was a very early on J6er that was arrested.
Okay.
And so early on that they had not started brutally attacking the J6ers upon arrest. So what I mean by that is she was able to make a plea and avoid prison time, and her probation was very short. So she was able to complete all of her consequences with the government very early on and start rebuilding her life. And she has felt a calling upon the Lord that He made a provision for her. And therefore, since she was kind of ahead of the game in restoring her life, she wanted to use everything she had available to help her brothers and sisters in the J6 trauma in order to help them rebuild their life.
Okay. Well, let's kind of wrap things up here. There's so much to cover here, and I want to stay in contact with you. I think what you're doing is great, and like we said, this phase is just getting started, really.
Yes.
And
yes.
so I do want to stay in touch with you and come back from time to time for updates. But let's wrap it up. Tell us, how can people help you? How can people donate? So tell everybody how that can be done.
Okay, so 2 things I want to address real quick.
Okay.
People need to know that we still have 6 hostages they refuse to release.
Right.
And
okay.
so we need people to know that J6ers, where we go one, we go all. We still have 6 hostages being held. This battle is not over. If the American people thought for a moment this was not a hostage crisis, you now know it is, because orders have been given and they will not let them go. So how to get in touch with us, how to help us make this happen for our brothers and sisters. We need people to go to the Give, Send, Go website and look up the J6 Freedom Ambassador Project. J6 Freedom Ambassador Project.
Okay.
And donate there. That money is being used to provide living expenses for these J6ers. Some of them are couch surfing. Some of them are living in their car in hotels that someone donated a day or two. This is a critical situation. And so we need financing for that.
Lots of it, please.
And that's why we're hands on deck out here to start building these tiny homes. The other thing you can do is to go to AmericanPatriotRelief.org. You can donate there as usual. And again, those funds that used to be used for commissary, we're now pouring into their lives, trying to keep them from losing anything else, buying their car, getting them a cell phone, and getting them a suit so that they can go get a job. It is really plain and simple. We need you. We need you. We need you. Please help us out.
As you said, this phase is just getting started. So there's a lot of needs out there. I mean, these are people that some of them have lost everything, haven't they?
Everything. One of the problems we've found is that some of the J6ers get home and their wife tells them to pack their stuff and go.
She just didn't want to
Yeah.
leave them while they were in prison.
Yeah, and so we've had several instances of that, and that is just horrifying.
That's heartbreaking.
Yes, it is.
Children have been custody has been taken from them, and the spouse has moved to another state. There has been a lot of trauma.
Yep.
We have PTSD issues. These people are coming out here with a deer in the headlights look, where okay, I'm free, but I don't even know how to live now.
Yeah. All right, guys. let's wrap it up for right now. Once again, welcome home. And I think what you're doing is great. We want to work with you and stay on top of what you're doing. So
Thank
you.
you.
if there's any way we can help, we'll certainly pitch in.
Well,
So
I want to thank your listeners for taking an interest in Mark and I and being involved and caring about us, your prayers. It is so appreciated. God bless you.
Yeah,
welcome. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Well, folks, that's Mark and Jaleese Middleton. We're going to stay in touch with them and stay on top of their situation. They're doing a lot of great work. So please donate and well as keep them in your thoughts and prayers. So that'll be it for this update. Thank you.
Well, Dale, I'm glad a number of times it's been brought up as chapters, because we can see obviously at this point, I know there's probably somebody out there that's already documenting so much, just maybe putting it into a book. I'm sure books will arrive at some point, but I think Mark and Jaleese, their whole attitude, and of course what they're professing is the fact that, God tells us He'll never leave or forsake us, and that was shown with Mark and Jaleese, and
Sure was.
the depth of the destruction that this government has forced on people is just, I mean, it has to come to full light. It really does.
Yes, I hope it does. I hope it does. But we want to stay in touch with them. I think they're doing a great thing, and and my guess is that there's probably some other organizations out there trying to do the same thing. So
Yeah,
we'll try and find out some more there if there are others out there. But
sure.
Great people. All right. Well, Ken, let's wrap this up broadcast, and let's talk a little bit about what's coming up on our next broadcast on February 17th. We're going to have, don't quite know what it's going to be right now, but it's going to be about the economic plan, the Trump economic plan. We're going to be addressing some things there. We'll get I didn't put it on here, but probably another Dave's Daily Dose, COS Basics, and of course, Maringo Mike will chip in at the very end. So we got a lot of good things in the plans for our next broadcast on the 17th. And of course, our next roundtable, which is the 24th of February, the topic is going to be education. And I don't know, as we all know, there's a Trump 10-point plan to fix education. So John Ackerman will be heading that roundtable up. So ought to be very, very interesting, I'm sure. So
we're already seeing a lot of interesting opposition. So I think it's only going to get more interesting going forward.
There's something every day, isn't there? There's something every day. It's hard to keep up on it, quite honestly.
We're just amazed at, people's heads are spinning how fast things are going. Hey, Dale, too, I know we warned people we were going to go over a little bit, but I do want to put in a plug for I know the 17th will be the next program, but also I want to put in a plug for the 19th for those that do live in Indiana, that we will be visiting the State House on the 19th between 9 and 3. For Convention of States, and it's going to be an excellent day to join us down there. We want to encourage people that if you are within driving or distance or within the state, come out and support us at the State House in Indianapolis.
Good idea. I'm glad you remembered that. I had forgotten to include that today. So
it's so close to the broadcast. I just wanted to put that in. That's a Wednesday between 9 and 3.
And Ken and I are going to be there. We're going to try and do a live broadcast there. As best we can, and record some interviews with different people. So should be a good day for us there.
Come on down and get your picture with Dale.
Yeah. Hopefully the weather's I hope the weather holds up.
So yeah, February is one of those months you just never know what you're going to get.
I think we're supposed to get some bad weather here in the next few days, as a matter of fact, up here in the northern part of the state. So
Yep.
We'll see what happens. Well, folks, if anyone has any comments or questions after the broadcast tonight, feel free to drop us an email at raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com. raiseyourvoicecos@gmail.com. So, Ken, let's let Maringo Mike close us out this evening. And thanks to everyone that has tuned in this evening. So I just want to tell everybody that our live stream is really catching on. I just got to take a minute to throw this out there. I won't give out any numbers tonight, but we are on track to set a new record for views and followers, number of followers, come the end of February. I think we're very close, Ken, to setting a brand new record. Now our current record is 500,000 views, which we logged last November. And folks, I think we're on track to really blow that out of the water. So
Share, like, and subscribe. Keep sharing.
Yeah. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for supporting us. So, Ken, have a good evening. And let's let Maringo Mike close us out here. So let me get to where Maringo Mike is located. Here we go.
Marengo Mike here with a reminder that our work to raise the bar on making our federal government accountable to the people is only halfway done. We need to grow our grassroots army of citizens every day to fulfill the vision of our forefathers and keep our land free and prosperous. So, if you have never signed the petition to show your support, use that QR code and do that now. While you're there, why not kick it up a notch and volunteer for many of the positions available where your talents can make a difference as we march into a new year. Thank you, and God bless.